All right, so, did you all enjoy summer yesterday?
Yeah.
That's all over. Get no more summer. So, tell you a little bit about being a service person in general at first, especially Marine Corps boot camp. You probably all have a pretty good idea what Marine Corps boot camp is like. If you've seen Full Metal Jacket, well then, you have a pretty good idea. But anyway, boot camp is that. That's what it should say above the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Paris Island. Dante's quote, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." Because what they do, Marine Corps does a lot of things psychologically to people to break them down. One of them is they bring you into boot camp about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So you're at your weakest and lowest point, and then they bring you in on the bus, and the drill instructors come on the bus and start screaming at you to get in those get in those prints. So everybody lines up, and that's when they start yelling at you and yelling at you and yelling at you. So you wonder why you ever did this. And how can I get out of here, except for Paris Island is an island and nobody's ever escaped it. So forget about that. So they run you ragged, and this is one of the, you don't go to bed for about 20, no, maybe at least 24 hours. They run you from that moment on. They just, it's constant going on. So one of the things they did after you run around for 2 days, and they give you uniforms and all this other stuff, and you finally get to your barracks, and after 2 days of sweating and hair on you from everything, you finally get to take a shower. So you get out of the shower, you know, one side goes in, and then when they come out, the other side goes in and comes out. So you got fresh t-shirt on, fresh underpants on, and you feel great, right? So then they say, go in your foot lockers and get your foot powder, because you've got to make sure your feet are, always take care of your feet, because, you know, the Army and the Marines move on your feet. So they want you to sprinkle foot powder all over your feet, a little more, and then a little more, and a little more. And then they say, well, you can't hit the rack, that's the bed. You can't hit the rack with a dirty floor, so you got to clean that up. Well, there's no brooms or there's no anything. So they say, well, get down on your bellies and swim around the floor and use your bellies to get all the stuff off until the floor is nice and clean. Then they'll let you hit the rack. So they do that to you right away. They right away are not dashing expectations. As soon as you start to feel good, they'll make sure you don't. So that's just a little tiny bit of Marine Corps boot camp. And then there's that. You drill and you drill and you drill, and I guess there's a reason for it, but I could never figure it out. All right, so then, yep, good old Marine Corps logo. So then I'll take you really quick to Vietnam. So they charter a lot of regular airlines to haul people over to Vietnam. So it's the poor stewardesses. Anyway, it's full of Marines. There's nobody else on it but Marines. And you land in Da Nang, and they open the door, and as soon as they open the door and I walk to the thing, the first thing I notice is the smell. And then the second thing I notice is the heat. Now, I mean, I spent summer in Southern California, right? This is July, so I was in Southern California in June and all of July and half of August. And there was nothing like that heat compared to Vietnam. Must have been 100 degrees and 100% humidity, I don't know, but it was hot. And the other thing, of course, is the smell of the country, because as you can see, there's a lot of liquid manure everywhere that permeates the air from their rice paddies, but they are beautiful. So, just wanted to give you a quick rundown of, if I say Charlie a lot, I want you to know who Charlie is. There you go. The Viet Cong, or otherwise known as the VC, well, if you use the phonetic alphabet, Alpha, Beta, Charlie, Delta, Echo, X-ray, etc. So we call them Victor Charles or Charlie for short. So if you hear me talking Charlie now, you know we're talking about the Viet Cong. And the other people we fought were the NBA, which is the North Vietnamese Army. They came in a little bit later while I was there, because I was there in August of '66 to September of '67.
The light artillery weapon of the infantry division and airborne and air mobile units. Capable of rapid and continuous fire, it is normally employed in a direct support role. It can be moved by different types of wheeled vehicles, by helicopter, or can be parachuted into otherwise inaccessible areas. This 1.5-ton weapon can be emplaced by its crew of 9 in about 3 minutes. Flexibility is provided by the pivot and socket type firing platform. Once in place, the weapon can be lifted so the tube can be traversed to any direction on a full circle. And the roller tire facilitates fine traversing of the weapon by operating the hand wheel on the left trail. On-carriage fire control instruments, such as the range quadrant, are used to lay the weapon for elevation, and the panoramic telescope to lay the weapon for direction. Minimum elevation is minus 89 mils. Maximum elevation is plus 1,333 mils. Mils are the units of angular measurement used by field artillerymen in laying their weapons. 1 degree equals approximately 18 mils. This weapon fires a 33-pound projectile of semi-fixed ammunition to a maximum range of 11,500 meters and is capable of both direct fire and indirect fire methods of hitting the target. In the direct fire method, the cannon crew sights on the actual target. And fires when ready. Direct fire may be used when necessary to protect the position. In an indirect fire mission, the crew does not normally see the target, but uses aiming posts or a collimator for laying the weapon to hit a target many thousands of meters away from the firing position. The maximum rate of fire for each weapon is 10 rounds per minute for the first 3 minutes, and the sustained rate of fire is 3 rounds per minute. There are 6 of these light 105-millimeter towed howitzers in each firing battery, 3 firing batteries in each battalion, 3 battalions assigned to each infantry, airborne, and air mobile division artillery.
So you've heard a lot about the infantry guys, but because I was artillery, I thought it'd be a little different for you to get some idea of what that's all about. This is more, the little video you saw was a more modern 105 howitzer. This is what we use, 1942 World War II leftover howitzers. And you see the legs, how they were opened up, and we implant them in the ground. So as the recoil comes back, you gotta have something to keep it from going too far back. So this would not have, we couldn't do 360 degrees too easily, because the aiming stakes, the way that they put them out there, have to be moved. And what happens is, I don't know if you can see that, oh yeah, so the assistant gunner is on this side, and you see the handle there, and there's he's raising the barrel up and down, called a quadrant, but the gauge that he's using has to be level to be accurate. So he's turning this to raise the barrel up, but then he's also turning his gauge at the same time to try to keep a level as possible. So when you get close to where you want to be, you don't have to do this and then this and then this and then this. So you're trying to do things quickly. So you get used to being able to do two things at once. And once you get it close, then you level your scope and you do the same thing. Now the same thing happens on the other side with the gunner, but he's got the eyepiece and he's making the barrel go left and right, called deflection. And you got to line that up with those aiming stakes. So it's the same thing. You're turning at the barrel, you're also turning the knob to keep the scope level so you're accurate. So of course when they call a fire mission, and this is part that it kills me, it's so amazing. So there's somebody way out in the field, I don't know, 5 miles away, let's just say, and he's on a map. Now this is before GPS, this is before computers. This guy's on a map out there and he's giving coordinates of where we need to fire, and his guys back in the bunker are figuring this all out in a matter of seconds. How much powder to put in each shell, what shell to use, what fuse to use, what quadrant, what deflection, and everything to get that projectile to go 5 miles and to be fairly or very accurate. So it amazes me how they did that, because there were times when the 105 howitzer is the lightest, well, except for mortars. We're direct support of our infantry. When we go out on an operation, when the infantry goes out on an operation, we follow. That's why you were seeing it. We could take the howitzer out with a 6x6 truck, or we could take it out with the helicopter, whatever it took to get it to where the grunts are going out for their operation. Well, they get pinned down or they're in a heavy firefight and they call for artillery support. We are throwing shells over their head and maybe 50 yards in front of them to try to help them out. So we better be pretty accurate, because we don't want to drop some shells on our guys, except for there were times when they were in so much trouble that they said, bring artillery on top of us. Imagine what that feels like when you're getting that fire mission. So that's kind of the quick rundown of what that's all about.
Gene, did the enemy have that kind of weaponry too?
Pardon?
Did the enemy have that kind of weaponry also?
They had artillery too, yeah, but they didn't have a whole battery. They wouldn't have like 6 guns. They would have one here and one there, and they would have them camouflaged real well. This is my high-tech drawing of the way our guns are set up, 6 guns in a battery. So that they were spaced out just at the right distance apart, so if you hit all 6 rounds, they're the same out there as they are here, that it covers the right amount of shrapnel, so it covers a good size area. This is a quick rundown of what this is all about, the shells. This is the shell. This is an actual 105 millimeter howitzer shell. It's got a primer in here, but then there's a long tube in there with other powder that lights off those bags of powder. And so there's bags of powder in there. Then there's the projectile full of, it's made of cast iron, and it's full of TNT. And then there's a fuse. We had 3 basically different kind of fuses. One hits on impact, blows it up. One is a delay, so that, like a bunker buster, so that once it hits, it starts timing, so you want the shell to go into the ground as far as it can before it explodes. Then there's another one that uses radio waves, so, and you set the timer to what, the bunker tells you to set it for. And as that projectile's coming down and it's sending out a signal that hits the ground and it comes back to the fuse, then it counts down exactly where they want that to explode. Because imagine if an artillery round's coming in like this and it blows up, a lot of the explosion is going into the ground. It's not, it's going out and up. Well, they want an air burst so that it covers more area. Bigger killing radius. So that's That's what a shell looks like. Each shell had 7 bags of powder, and they would call us again when we got the fire mission, and they would say how many bags of powder they would want. And you see there's a little string between them all, so that the guys that were putting shells together would pull the bags out. Like say you wanted a 5 round, 5 bags of powder, number 7 and number 6 would be hanging out, and then they would put the projectile in. And if they were going to actually use that shell, then they just grab that, break that string, and take the shell over. It depended, you know, how far to shoot and everything, how much powder was needed. Those are some of the different fuses that I was telling you about. So there you'll see guys loading. You load, you put the round in, you hold your fist like this on the bottom, you push it in so your hands don't get caught. And then when the assistant gunner is closing the breech, he pushes your hand away, and then you can let go and get ready for the next one. So you see that, that's what's happening there. The gunner's checking his, assistant gunner's checking there, making sure that, because every time you get a recoil, the gun's going to change a little. So you kind of tweak it a little bit to make sure you're still on. And this is what like a fire mission would look like. We would do this sometimes for a long time.
What's a long time?
The chamber
Hour.
doesn't get hot?
Pardon?
The chamber doesn't get hot
Oh yeah,
when you're putting your fist in
there
there?
it is. Do it. Yeah. And check this out. No hearing protection whatsoever. 13 months of firing artillery with no. So what happened was, is I get to Da Nang, fly into Da Nang, spend a day or two there till they fly me up to Phu Bai, and I'm up in Phu Bai waiting for my orders to go to an artillery battery. And while I'm there, they, you know, give me all kinds of different little jobs to do. And because I'd been a hunter all my life and knew guns, the quartermaster was getting all kinds of new weapons in. And I don't know if you're familiar with, I can't think of the name of it. Not creosote. What's the name of the stuff? Pardon?
Cosmoline.
Cosmoline, thank you. All these guns are packed in cosmoline, which is a kind of a heavy grease, so they don't rust and everything. So, got a tank full of a chemical, and he's taking rifles apart, pistols apart, cleaning them in the solution, putting them all together, and then we would test fire them. So I helped him. They had me assigned to help this guy. And he had about 3 months left. So he was saying, yeah, you really know your stuff, and I could show you how to do this, and you could become the new quartermaster. And I was going, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to do this, right? Well, about 4 days later, India battery gets overrun. The Vietnamese came right, blew through the concertina wire. They were right in the compound. There was a lot of bad stuff happening. A number of guys from the artillery battery were wounded or killed. So they needed artillerymen quick. So it was me. See you, buddy. Forget about the quartermaster job. You're going to go do some shooting. So that's how I got up there. And first place I went to was called the Plateau. Everything that the Marines did was called I-Corps, and we were all up north of Da Nang, north of Phu Bai. If you look at a Viet Nam map, which I could have put one up here, we were all up north. We were either close to the Laotian border or close to the DMZ. Well, these artillery pieces, like I said, can shoot about, 8-9 miles. So most of the time, we would be within that range, unless we were on an operation. There was a number of bases. You've heard of Quezon. We were at Quezon a couple of times. Actual bases, if you weren't on an operation, you were at a base where there was enough of our infantry going out and around and doing missions that they would need fire support. They have these big tanks. We call them water buffaloes. Bigger than that one, real big tanks. Most of them weren't printed with potable water on them. So I'll tell you, our motor pool guys, they really do a lot of work. people never really hear too much about motor pool. But they do a lot of work too. First of all, they're dragging this gun we're out on an operation, right? So they're dragging the gun behind them with us in it and enough artillery rounds to get started if we needed to get something going immediately. So they drop us off, then they start going getting more ammo, bringing it out to all 6 guns. And then once we have enough ammo, then they start, if we're going to be there a bit, they start setting tents up and start getting other things set up. So they do a lot of work. But one of the things they do is they go down to the river and they fill these water buffaloes up with good river water. And then they, of course, have to find, disinfect it. So I'm at the latrine the one day, and there's a nice water buffalo right at the latrine. You would think that this is good water, wouldn't you? So I drank, a whole lot of good water. Not good. So I ended up with amoebic dysentery. Good water. And I was laying on the ground and pretty sick. And so all they could do with me at the time was feed me intravenously in a bunker. I was in some bunker. And back then they didn't have needles that could bend or whatever. So they had the needle in my arm and they had a board under it and they were taped. So my arm was like this for a week. And I'm totally out of it. I mean, the only time I would come to is when I was having pain. Finally, after a week, I talked him out of changing my arm, would you? So my arm's like this for another week. Well, hold your arm like that for an hour and it starts to hurt. So, needless to say, I came out of there, I was looking like pretty scrawny. And, but that was that. Amoebic dysentery, don't get it. And then you've probably, a lot of you may have heard about Quezon. It was a pretty heavy duty time there for a while. Luckily I got out of there before it really became a heavy duty siege. But while I was there up till September of '67, it was building up. We were getting a lot of artillery, a lot of mortar, a lot of NVA coming in, coming at the wire, concertina wire around us and stuff. So there was always something going on like that. C-130 trying to bring supplies into us while another one is on the airfield burning. They loved trying to hit one of those with their mortars and artillery. So it was tough getting resupplied. What those guys would do a lot would, and I had a picture of it, but I lost it. They would come in and open the back door, and they wouldn't even land. They would just get close and pop a chute, and just drag the stuff right off. And then the motor pool guys would run out and get the stuff on the truck and bring ammo to us, So Quezon was, you see the trenches and you see the guys. It was a pretty heavy duty time for a while. I mean, there you go. Spend a lot of time like that. Oh my God. And look at those trenches. I mean, it became Trench City. So, but, out of sync here, if artillery has a fire mission, you don't jump in a trench. You fire your fire mission. So you're out in pretty much, I mean, you can see if you're at a place for a little while, you could try to protect yourself a little bit. But pretty much, if you've got a fire mission, you're out there firing and they're dropping mortars on you and stuff. And you see the left tire of that thing, it's flat. That got hit by shrapnel during that fire mission. And yeah, flak jackets, helmets. Yeah, you were into the stuff. The other big battle that happened when I was there was when they took Hill 881 South. So if you want to read about that one, that's a pretty big battle. Pretty, 881 feet above sea level, big hill, really steep. And our guys are out there, and we're fire mission firm like crazy. I swear to God, we fired for a week. I know it doesn't seem right, but I think we did. Constantly shooting. So that was really crazy. And they're out there. Marines first got the Matty Mattel, which was the AR-16, that plastic piece of thing. And when they first came out, they were using the wrong powder, and it was dirty. And it was jamming the shell into the barrel, and the extractor couldn't pull the shell out, and then it would pick up the next round and jam it against that one. So our guys in the middle of hell, getting shot at and mortared and everything, trying to clear them. So us artillery guys didn't need the M16 yet, so we had the old wooden stock M14, and they came and got all our M14s and took them up to those guys, you know. But we fired so much that if you're familiar with rifles, rifles have grooves inside of the barrels, so that when the bullet goes out, it's spinning like a spiral, so that it's more accurate. Well, these have that in them as well. Well, after the end of that fire mission, however long it lasted, a lot of the rifling was just completely gone. I mean, you know, so the barrels had to be replaced. So we had a nice little break after that. They flew us and our weapons down to Fubai for a week so to get replacements for the barrels, but then we were right back again.
Jim,
What?
is that group of men, were they the same people all the time, or were they brought on, like, were you a group of three?
You mean in
Firing
our-
a gun, I mean, were they the same people over?
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
over,
yeah.
or did that-
One, each gun would have their own crew that would stay with them until one of them were able to be mustered out, you know what I mean, until it was time to get out, leave the Nam back to the world. So, yeah, I mean, you know, when you first go there, you know, you're the guy that humps the ammo, you're the guy that, you know, puts the shells together, you know, puts the fuses on, whatever they're calling for. Then the next job is to hand stuff to the loader, then the job after that, you get to the point where you're the loader. And then you get to be assistant gunner if you want to be, and then gunner. So I did all those jobs, you know. It was pretty, you know, it was the way it was. The other little story was, those are 6x6 trucks, and the back of that truck is about this high. So one day we're unloading ammo, and I had a picture, but I don't have it now, I don't think. It's wooden boxes with 2 shells in them. Each one's 32 pounds or something. So you're talking about 70-some pounds in a box. So 2 guys would, one guy would be on one side, one on the other. You'd grab the rope handles and swing them down and set them down on the ground, and then you'd, you know, unloading the truck to do that. Well, the handle broke on the other guy that was opposite me. His handle broke, and so the whole box of ammo dropped, and my hand got caught in that rope. I couldn't get it out because it bound it, and before you could do anything, it just ripped me. So I pulled my shoulder out and tore muscles in my back. So, but I wasn't out of commission. We still were doing stuff. But they gave me a couple aspirins and back to work.
Yeah.
Still
I don't know. What else? If you got any ideas and questions, I don't know how long we've been doing this, but it hasn't been long.
Your stakes, your sighting stakes, what are they?
What, aiming stakes?
Aiming stakes, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, the guys in the bunker would tell you exactly what angle by compass degrees to put aiming stakes out, and you put 2 of them, so that basically if everything was lined up perfectly when you're looking through the scope, you only see 1 aiming stake. And then when your scope is perfectly lined up with them, and then you're reading your gauge here at where they told you to put it, so that your barrel is left or right to where it's supposed to be. But after a couple of rounds of that thing bouncing, a lot of times your aiming stakes look like this. So then you kind of got to split the difference and hope you're in as close as you have to be. Yeah.
How far out would they put the aiming stakes? I mean, this is,
Aiming stakes were out about,
I mean, still within the safe area?
They're over there.
Yeah,
They were back here.
they were probably maybe 15 yards away, I can't remember exactly, but 15, 20 yards.
What is a kill rate? Is there like 25 yards, 50 yards from the shell that,
Yeah, they're probably about 25. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's about 25. If it hit the ground,
yeah.
airburst, you'd get probably 40.
You may want to explain what the killing actually is caused by. It's not the explosion.
Well, the explosion will, of course, do something on you, because that's like the old cannonballs didn't explode, but you got killed by concussion of it hitting the ground close to you, you know, that kind of a concussion. But inside of these shells is TNT, black, you know, and they're cast iron. So when the TNT blows up, the cast iron blows apart, and there are lots of chunks of heavy black, heavy hot cast iron metal.
Shrapnel.
Shrapnel.
Jane, when you would go out in the, would you be the only gun going out, or was there usually a group that would be called in if you had an issue?
Most of the time, the whole battery would go.
Alright, and what's the how many are in the?
6 guns in the battery.
Alright, okay.
When we took Hill 881, I wish they had my pictures, but when we took Hill 881, they took 3 of our guns on, just out of the beginning, that where there was a Chinook helicopter
Right.
taking a gun. Well, they took us up to the top of Hill 881 and sat 3 of our guns up there, because our guys were down below, and the hill was so steep you could look down like this. And there were jets down there that looked about this big, way down there. And you could see where they were dropping bombs, and you'd see the explosion, then you'd see the shock wave, and then you'd hear the explosion. Then they would fly up the hill and come right over the top of us and wave by as they would go by. So yeah, it was only 3 of us were up there for a while.
3
And
guns?
the Vietnamese or Viet Cong were where on that hill? Everywhere.
At the beginning or at the end? Well, I mean, they had
At the beginning.
They dig so many tunnels, you just cannot believe the tunnels. I mean, I'll bet you that when we were done clearing the hill, there were still there were tons of them still inside of there, just waiting to come out like ants. We left the hill after a while because, you know, you can't hold all the territory in Vietnam like traditional war. You hold this territory, you move ahead. You hold that territory, you move ahead. Well, Vietnam was everything. We were constantly surrounded by, there was no front line, there was no like that. So as soon as we'd leave an area, they'd just come right back in again. So, yeah, it was a crazy war. Hamburger Hill was a good one to watch. That was probably similar to that, what happened at Hill 881. If you want to see that one.
So what did you eat?
What did we eat?
Mm-hmm.
Everything was canned. We never got anything fresh. If we were at an area that was, you know, semi-secure, you know, that was like kind of a base, they had regular mess food. Like I said, everything is canned. Canned potatoes, canned meat, canned.
Peaches.
It was wonderful. We liked cake. We actually liked, when we were out in operation, we liked sea rations better than the food, because sea rations were pretty darn good. There was each little box of sea rations, each person would get a box of sea rations, you know, per meal. And there was like, you know, some canned meat. There was like maybe a canned little cinnamon roll. There was a pack of 5 cigarettes. There was packets of powdered coffee, sugar, you know, creamer, you know, fake creamer stuff.
Plastic toothpick.
Yeah, we had the little P38 or whatever it was called, that little
P38, yeah.
little can opener guy. And
Scar on the front.
C4 is Dennis knows all about C4. It's a very, very high explosive.
I also remember blowing up your short rounds.
Oh. So, what we would do is, while we were on operation, if we could get our hands on some C4 to heat your heat your meals, we would just take a little, it looked like Play-Doh kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you put it in, take a can, and you know those can openers that make things like a triangle? Well, we would make those all the way around the bottom thing so the air could come in. And you know, a canteen cup is a pretty good size cup of water. That little C4 thing could boil that in 30 seconds.
yeah,
It wasn't confined, so it just burned.
Yeah, it
yeah,
was just burnt.
yeah.
You can find it.
No,
Were
Don't
there
have
any
water.
rules about how long you'd be in battle, how long you'd be rested, or?
no.
They never rested.
No, the grunts got some of that kind of thing because you can only hump the boonies, as they would say, for so long because of the sweating and carrying a 60-pound pack and ammo and everything else. They would get pretty run down. So they needed a break. So they would, every once in a while, get 3 or 4 days to go back and drink alcohol. They would give them some alcohol. Lots of smoking stuff going on, or whatever, just leave them alone for a while. You know? But we weren't that, so we didn't get such a thing. Once in a while, we would get some beer. Once in a while, wherever we were, we might get a couple cans of beer, but that's about, the most of what we got. We did have, like PX trailers. I could buy, back when I smoked Marlboros, I could buy a carton of Marlboros for $1. 10 packs of Marlboros for $1. Can you imagine that?
The beer was free, but you paid a fortune for the ice.
Yeah.
That's right. What was I gonna say about
It was, what, 3-2 beer?
that? Yeah, 3-2 beer,
3-2
right?
beer, which is kind of watered down
Yeah.
alcohol.
You didn't want to have too much fun.
No,
No.
no, they kept a lot of fun
No,
down
yeah, you gotta still keep your head up, because you could have a fire mission at any time. I got lucky. Raised a Catholic. We were told all about guardian angels. Well, over there, I think my guardian angels watched me, because there was a couple times I had pretty close calls. One time they called a fire mission, we slept with our clothes on, we slept with our boots on. You jump out of a fire, you jumped out of your rack. It took like 2 steps, I swear, 2 steps, and an artillery round exploded, and my rack was just shattered with shrapnel. 2 seconds earlier, I'd have been really bad hurt. So, and then one time I'm driving our company captain, because I could drive stick shift, and all the motor pool guys were driving their trucks, so there wasn't anybody. So a lot of times we would go on operation, I'd be driving our captain. And you drive in a convoy. Nobody drives anywhere without it being a number of vehicles and a number of grunts with you for protection or whatever. When you drive in a convoy, you drive at 55 miles an hour, and you drive at a certain distance apart, which, I don't know, 50 yards, because if you're doing 55 and you go over a mine, by the time it explodes, you've already gone past it. And the truck behind isn't going to get hit by the mine either, so they're far enough behind. So we're driving along 55, and off to the left I see this flash, and it was a sniper, and he shot right at us, and I heard it hit my Jeep, and I took off. The captain didn't know it. He didn't know what the hell I was doing. I took off and I went behind one of the 6-bys, and he's like screaming, "What the hell are you thinking? Are you crazy?" Well, by the time we got to where we were going and we got out, right in the hood, right in the side hood, about this far in front of me, was a bullet hole. So, I mean, the guy just didn't leave me too much. So, so then he was okay. All right, you're all right. He was gonna rip my, get them, get those things right off you. You're busted back to private, because he didn't know what the hell I was doing. So, there's a couple close calls, and I went, yeah, I was pretty lucky. A lot of guys weren't. So the other thing was, you know what, I wish I had a picture of those too, but 5 gallon cans that, like you would see on the back of Jeeps, you know, that they would carry extra gas or water or whatever. So I used to take one of those and fill it up with good water. And because they were that olive drab green, you set it out and the water would get warm. And that's how I would take my showers. I would take that thing and I would just dump some water on me and I'd lather all up and I would take that and rinse myself off. That's how I got to take the showers a lot of the times, because there was not any places that we went, even when we were in, you know, a base that had showers. So, did our own laundry that way too, you know, filled
How
up.
old were you when you went?
19. So I'm 18, right? Turn 18, I get this fantastic job, crane operator at Bethlehem Steel. I'm bringing home, after all the taxes and everything, I'm bringing home $200 a week. That's a lot of money in 65, you know? You could drink at 18, I had a nice car, I was living life large, let me tell you. The minute I turned 19, there was a guy over there and he said, "We want you." And that was it, 19 years old. See ya. Yeah, so, that's the way it goes.
You didn't have a draw then, you were just told to come in?
You were what?
You didn't, there wasn't a lottery for a number draw, was there?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it must.
No, I mean, we were working class, we weren't married, we weren't going to college, we didn't have kids.
That, I think that was before the lottery.
Yeah.
I think the lottery started in
You were
'68.
I was in a lottery, I was like.
Lottery started
I was
in
like
1970.
350.
Yeah, nice.
Started in
I was 103 when I got chosen.
Really?
44.
Wow.
Nice number. Okay.
So then-
1970 had the lottery.
So then, so here you are, this, and this, right? And September 20th of 67, my number's up, it's time to get out of country and come back to the world, we call it, right? So I fly to Da Nang, they clean you up a little bit, they fly us to Okinawa, give us some new uniforms, clean you up a little bit, and they fly you to Marine Corps Air Base in California, and they hop on a bus and they take you to LA Airport. So I come out of the jungle, out of that, 4 days later, you know, it's this. And I'm going, what the hell is going on here?
Oh my God.
I wouldn't have recognized you in the red shoes.
I changed, cleaned up quickly.
You cleaned up.
It was like, oh my God, what the hell's going on back here? Because, I mean, the thing was I didn't want to hear news about back home, because you got too homesick. So all I wanted to hear letters from was stuff that had to do with the family. You know, that's all I wanted to know about it. I wanted to know, except for the Buffalo Bills. I did want to know what was happening with the Bills. Cookie Gilchrist and all those people. But so I didn't know really a lot what was happening back in the world. So it, not only just for me, but all the other guys. It was just a shock coming back to the world after doing that and then doing that. It's like, what?
Were there civilians near your,
In Nam?
yeah,
Oh, no.
you weren't
No,
places?
there's no place where I was at where there were any. I mean, some of the bigger bases probably had civilians working on them. I mean, they had, you know, doctors and nurses, round eyes. We used to call women back then. Wow. Haven't seen a round eye in 13 months.
Kristen went to Vietnam about 10 years ago. Was it about 10 years ago?
Who did what?
My daughter,
See,
Kristen.
my
went to
daughter,
Vietnam.
Kristen.
Oh, yeah?
She said it's a beautiful
It is.
country,
It's
and I said,
gorgeous.
talk to Jean.
It is gorgeous. I mean, I appreciated it. I love the country. It's gorgeous. And I love the people too. There's nothing,
We couldn't
I
believe
have
she
no
was gone.
problems with any of them. They were, you know, just with any other war thing, the people are the people. They're out there, they're farming, they're trying to eat some rice, and they just wanna be left alone. They don't, you know, they don't want any, to have to do with any of this crap. Unfortunately, of course, you know, they all get sucked in.
My son went to Cambodia and Viet Nam,
Oh, yeah?
on vacation.
Oh, yeah,
Most
yeah.
recently. And, see, he tells me, he says, well, you know, he's going on vacation, where are you going? Well, Southeast Asia. And that's no place to go on vacation. Are you crazy? Are you what? I mean, we did everything in the world we could not to go there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what we said.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. The people treated him very, very well.
When Kristen asked me that, I said, what are you, crazy? It'd
Oh.
be like today going to Afghanistan or
Yeah.
something like that,
I
you know?
said, but we think your kid's going to Afghanistan, you know,
That's
come on, go, she's going to
Unreal.
stop it.
How long did you stay there, Gene, in action?
13 months. Marine Corps tour duty was 13 months, the Army was 12 months. Because there weren't as many Marines, so you had to stay a little longer. 13 months, it's a long time. Yeah, you don't want to start counting the days, man, I'll tell you, I'll tell you though, you do learn to be Zen-like. You learn to be in the now, you don't look forward, you don't look too much back. Well, this guy got hurt while we were doing a fire mission yesterday and he's gone now, but oh, I'm sorry, I miss you, but you're gone and I can't think about that now, I gotta think about now. So you get into that state of mind of this is, and you don't wanna think about, you know, I got X amount of months or days, cause that's just, would go crazy. You know, you can't, you just gotta be right here, right now, do this, and that's all you wanna know about. So,
A couple of my friends talk about only having rice and Kool-Aid for months.
yeah,
to eat. They were Army. That's it, rice and Kool-Aid.
why?
No supplies. Supplies were coming in.
Wow.
So was there a typical day that you went through? I mean, getting up in the morning if there's nobody to
If
shoot
there's
at?
no fire mission, yeah, I'd probably get up like 0600, go to mess hall, get something to eat, go back to the gun, either start cleaning or getting more ammo or getting things, you know, everything ready for whenever you might get called for a fire mission. Fill sandbags, that's always fun. You know, if you're anywhere that you're not doing anything else, you're filling sandbags. You're on an operation and you might not be there for another 10 minutes because they don't tell you anything. They don't tell you where you're going, how long you're gonna be there, what's happening. You just go and do what you say, and you know what I mean? That's another Zen thing. You just do what you're doing and that's all you do. So, but in the meantime, you fill sandbags to try to make yourself feel secure so that you could be a little bit, you know, maybe when you're in a fire mission, you know, a little protected. Either they gotta drop it in on you
So you were only 20 when you came back,
or,
maybe 21?
yeah, went over 19, come back 20.
Did you go back to Batham Steel?
Yep, they
Wow.
held my job.
I never knew you were Batham Steel.
Yeah, ran a crane. Yeah.
Back to work.
How do you go
Back to work.
just
2 weeks
regular
after
work?
discharge, they say, that's it, come on back to work. Could I have another week? No. You don't come back this day, you don't come back. Okay, you held my job, thank you, I'm coming back to work.
Well, that's the law.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
No?
That's all I can think, what else I can think of.
Thank you
Gene, when you went to
Welcome.
Batham Steel?
for tonight and for your
Okay.
service.
Oh, yeah.